It's been approximately 4 months since the COVID-19 pandemic gained full swing in Ontario. And while restrictions have loosened, we're still in a state of emergency. And it's become clear that life won't be going back to normal anytime soon. In times of significant change and uncertainty, there's usually a wide range of emotions that people experience, including a strong desire for things to go back to the way they were during better times. Hi everyone, I'm Trevor Sullivan from Sullivan Associates Clinical Psychology. And today I'm going to talk about what to do if you're so done with COVID-19. Before we get started, I invite you to subscribe to this channel. And if you're on YouTube, click the alert notification. That way, when we release more videos like this, you'll get notified. I remember when we initially braced for the first wave of COVID-19. On Monday, March 16th, our clinic was full and active. And by the following day, it was a ghost town with just a few essential staff. It was shocking to say the least. And since that time, I've noticed people go through a wide range of emotions, such as anger, sadness, anxiety, and denial. For many of us, you've likely gone through, or are continuing to go through, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's infamous 5 stages of grief, which are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And one thing I've noticed over the past several weeks, regardless of people's response to the pandemic, is that the change it's caused in daily life, it's emotionally taxing, and most of us are pretty tired of it. But as I mentioned at the start, there's a long way to go with this pandemic, so I'm going to talk about a 5-step plan you can use to help cope with the emotional impact of COVID-19. For my first step, I'm going to take a closer look at the last stage of Kubler-Ross's grief model, which is acceptance. Acceptance can be difficult, especially when it involves accepting something when you have little choice or influence over it. With the current pandemic, the most aggressive estimates for a vaccine are at the end of the year. If a vaccine is successful, the time required to make it, distribute it, and inoculate the public will take many months. So we're in this for the long haul. And for the next year or so, many of us are going to continue to go through a wide range of emotions. And one of the best ways to deal with negative emotions is to practice acceptance. In a 2019 study by Dr. Brett Ford and colleagues, they had study participants journal about their most stressful experiences. And what they found was that simply accepting negative emotions is the best way to deal with them in the long run. So for example, if someone feels sad about how the pandemic has restricted their life, the goal is to accept how you're feeling as your natural response, which is psychologically healthy. Much like it's important to accept that the pandemic will be here for some time, and there will be restrictions, whether you feel they're too strict or not strict enough. And if you find acceptance difficult, I have some advice for how to help with that in step 2. For my second step, I encourage you to chunk time. There probably isn't a day go by where I don't talk with clients about the benefits of dealing with time in smaller chunks. Chunking time helps make problems feel more manageable, which makes it feel more likely that you can cope with challenges successfully. Let me give you a quick example about how chunking time impacts how you think and feel. What if I told you you just had to hold on for another 2 months, because there'll be a vaccine ready for everyone by the start of September, and inoculations will begin immediately? It might feel a bit tough to hang on through the summer months, but it probably feels reasonably manageable, as this is a relatively small chunk of time. We've already dealt with this issue for 4 months. Probably also feels better to have the certainty of a deadline. What if I told you that you had to wait for a year and a half? Focusing on a longer period of time like that typically feels more overwhelming and difficult to manage for most people. What if I told you this might be this way for 10 years, or that things will always be this way? Chances are that feels considerably more overwhelming and difficult to manage. So focus on dealing with time in small chunks, dealing with now, not forever. For my third step, make sure that your expectations at this time are realistic. For most people, the most frustrating thing you'll encounter is having reasonable expectations of someone or something and having that person or situation fall short. That gap in the middle creates feelings of frustration and disappointment. Let's take a look at a study to emphasize how important it is to manage expectations. In a 2014 study by Dr. Rob Rutledge and colleagues, they attempted to create a mathematical equation to predict moment-by-moment happiness. So, pretty bold undertaking to say the least. And to do this, they tested their equation on 18,420 people from around the world. What they found is that the 2 most powerful predictors for happiness were what you were doing beforehand and expectations. So whatever you're doing or evaluating in your daily life, especially during the pandemic, you want to make sure that your expectations are realistic, given the current state of the world. For my 4th step, Encourage you to prioritize time to focus on what's going well. During difficult times or periods of frustration, it's very easy to get into a habit of focusing on what you've lost as opposed to what you still have. And given that what you focus on influences how you feel, it's not surprising that focusing on what you've lost can make you feel worse. So I'd encourage you to prioritize at least 5 minutes a day to focus on what's going well and come up with a reason for why each of these things is true. For example, you could focus on core areas in your life, such as health, freedom, career, family, or even the simpler things, such as an enjoyable hobby, a new season of a favorite Netflix series, or the joy of being in nature. Not only is it important to focus on what's going well in the here and now, it's important to focus on what could go well in the future. In a 2015 study by Dr. Ann Robke and Dr. Martin Seligman, they found that how people think about the future may cause depression. In their study, they found that having negative beliefs about the future or evaluating your future poorly are significant risk factors for developing depression. So it's important to not only see the good in the here and now, but also to foresee the future with an optimistic outlook. And when doing this, focus on using evidence to help come up with these reasons so you're more likely to believe it. For my final step, I encourage you to set a specific, purposeful goal. When the pandemic first hit, I think it was most natural and psychologically healthy for people to go into survival mode as a way to hang on and cope with the many challenges in the world. Survival mode for most of us meant hanging out at home, going to bed later, waking up later, eating more junk food, spending too much time on screens, and essentially just trying to ride out the pandemic. Now that 4 months have passed, I think it's evident that staying locked down is no longer the best approach for your physical or mental health. And it's time to re-engage in everyday life, albeit in a safe way. And people are typically happiest when they're comfortably busy and doing something purposeful. In a 2014 study by Dr. Melanie Wright and colleagues, they found that setting the right type of goals influences happiness. For instance, when people set abstract goals, which are broad, all-encompassing goals, they become less happy. An example of this type of goal would be to set a goal of getting to the best shape of your life in the next 2 months. It's possible, but isn't very specific, is difficult to achieve, particularly in a short time frame, and has a high probability of being unsuccessful. On the other hand, setting a concrete goal, such as following a specific exercise plan, 4 days a week over the next 6 months, along with a healthy eating plan, with the goal of losing 10 pounds, is a specific, well-designed goal that's more attainable and far more likely to lead to success and feelings of happiness. So I encourage you to set a concrete goal that's meaningful, so you feel like you're advancing your life during the pandemic, and not waiting for the pandemic to be over so you can start living again. So to provide a quick recap, first, it's important to work towards establishing acceptance that the pandemic is going to be here for a while and it's going to alter your daily life. And if that creates negative feelings, that's okay. Being able to accept negative emotions is a healthy way to cope with these feelings. Second, dealing with time in small chunks helps to make difficult situations feel more manageable. It also makes it easier to gradually gain acceptance when dealing with difficult situations. For my third step, aim to have realistic expectations during the pandemic. One of the greatest sources of frustration and unhappiness in life is having expectations of someone or something just to have them fall short. That gap is where negative feelings lie. So if the pandemic is going to make certain areas of your life more challenging, it's important to massage your expectations so you can narrow that gap. Fourth, prioritize time to focus on what's going well. During difficult times, it's typically more tempting to focus on what you've lost instead of what you have. Spending as little as 5 minutes a day to focus on what's going well in your life can help you to feel happier and less frustrated. For my fifth and final step, I encourage you to set a specific goal that's meaningful to you. You don't have to wait until the pandemic is over to start living. So consider setting a concrete goal that's achievable, that can help you to continue moving your life forward in a positive way. So I hope you found these steps helpful. If you did, I encourage you to subscribe to this channel by clicking the subscribe button below. If you're already a subscriber, please feel free to like and share this video. If you're experiencing challenges implementing these strategies, please contact us at Sullivan Associates Clinical Psychology. So now it's your turn. What strategies are you going to try? Are you ready to deal with time in smaller chunks? Or are you going to set aside a bit of time each day to focus on what's going well in your life? Or do you have a different strategy to cope with the emotional impact of COVID-19? Please let me know in the comments section below. Thank you for watching.